Thank you so much, and it's a pleasure to be here to talk to you a little bit today. It was great to see that there are some fans of Mærsk as well in the audience, which is great. I've done kind of similar presentations in other places around the world, and I usually start by asking people, has anybody heard of Mærsk? Now, we're in Scandinavia, so I'm not going to ask that question because I'll have a whole sea of 450 hands go up, one would hope. I'm going to talk to you a little bit today, about how Mærsk has changed their approach to social media over the years that they have been active on social media. So, Mærsk has been active on social media with a strategy behind it since about 2011. And when it started, they had a clear strategy, which I'll go into a little bit. It's been pretty much the same strategy throughout. The main change is that when I came along, was that we had two main social media channels, Mærsk Line and AP Møller Mærsk. We had a corporate account, which was all about branding and brand awareness, and then we had a commercial account, a Mærsk Line account, which was primarily customers. It was sales, it was pushing the message out, it was click here, it was book your container today, it was those kind of messages. Last year, when I came along, or soon after I came along, we merged those two. We became a little bit like you heard from B&O earlier today. We wanted to create kind of one idea about what Mærsk was all about. One AP Møller Mærsk, if you will. So we dropped the Mærsk Line and merged Mærsk Line into Mærsk in terms of our social channels. So we had a challenge on our hands. We had to try and find a way of being able to do the salesy stuff. We wanted to ultimately sell containers. That's what we do. But we also needed to do the brand awareness and stuff, and we kind of led towards it. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how we did that with some guidelines going forward. But I wanted to start as well by just talking to you a little bit about where we are in social media, because someone told me the other day, they said, social media is such a new thing. It's such a new thing, this social media. So I looked back and was like, actually, it's 22 years old this year, when you look back to what we established as social media. So it is no longer new, and we are living in a new age of social media, and as a result, we need to change our approaches. Because this is 2019. A brandless egg will get 52 million likes, and probably more than that from last time I screenshotted this. 52 million likes on Instagram, Facebook, you name it. That is more engagement, probably than all of you put together. A brandless egg is going to get more engagement than that. Sorry, sad fact. Because getting engagement is hard for brands on social media now. It used to be that it was pretty easy because it was new and exciting for brands. They were engaging it. They were kind of embracing this new social media as a way of selling. But now it's difficult. It's a cluttered space, and this is the result. And there's one simple reason why. I'm going to have a show of hands now. How many of you, and I want you to kind of forget about your own brands if you represent them, or your own brands that you represent with agencies. Forget about being marketers for a second. Put your hand up if you checked your favorite brand on social media this morning. Okay, that was slightly more than I expected. Some slightly concerning people, but not that many. 450 people in the room, I counted maybe a dozen. Not that many people check their favorite brand on social media when they wake up in the morning. Because we don't care. And because generally, all you get from brands these days are sales messages. It's swipe here, it's click here, it's buy this, it's buy that. You're not getting something else. So we need to kind of find a way of kind of changing this. And through algorithms and through everything that we're told with social media now, we know that there is a move away from these kind of brand salesy messages. Businesses are finding it a lot harder to get their reach, to get that engagement on social media, because now it's all about conversations. It's all about communities, and it's all about engagement. How do we do this? I'm going to try and talk you through 3 ways where I think that we can do that, and try and back that up with some examples about how Mærsk is doing it, because I think that we're doing it all right, but we've still got a long way to go, because at least social media isn't new, but the way that we do social media is certainly changing. So I'm going to give you 3 things so you know exactly how long I'm talking about, you know when I'm getting to the third, and I'll try and make sure that I don't run over time, of course, as well. So quickly on to the first. And This was something that I was taught way, 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 way back when I started in communications and digital communications, which was know your audience. And I think that with social media, because it's so instant and it's so easy, we leap right in. We know our messages. We know what we want to say. We know what product we want to sell. We know what service that we want to talk about. But do we actually know who our customers are? Do we actually know who is engaging with us? Do we actually know who we're talking to and who actually wants to talk to us back? So my number one tip, my first tip, is to know who your audiences are. Audit yourself. Who are your customers? Who are your followers? What are they responding to? And what channels are they on? Backed up with a little bit about what we are doing here at Mærsk, and you can kind of see how we have broken this down. And there's a whole range of different tools out there that you can reach into and try and analyze your audiences. And this is for Twitter, and this is obviously for our Mærsk channels as to who's following us. And the next slide I'll show you is who's engaging with us and how different that is. But it's an example about how it was really keen for us to work out, are we speaking to 80,000 people on Twitter, and every single one of them are our customers? Talk to the commercial team, talk to the sales team, they'd say, yeah, of course, we've got 88,000 customers, they're all on Twitter. Actually, they're not. Actually, the people who are following us have a whole range of different interests. They are maritime and energy. We don't even do energy anymore, but people are following us on Twitter because they want to hear about energy. They're logistics. They're globally aware mainstream. They've got much more broader interests than just maritime or sales, and they're not necessarily our customers. But when you look at who is engaging with our brand, that's completely different as well. A whole nother range of different people, lots of environmentalists who are engaging with us for lots of different reasons, probably positive and negative. This is why the numbers are really interesting as well, and that community is really interesting, because once you understand who it is who are following you and who are engaging with you, and the difference between the two, that's when you can really start crafting those conversations, and you can try and tailor to the community that you're trying to build. And just for interest, we kind of summed it all up. Those are kind of really complicated, nice kind of looking graphs and as who our audience are. But we kind of summed it up as to kind of, as an overview, as a very general audience, who should we be talking to? And then that just generally helps us when we're starting to craft those conversations. So I'd recommend to do the same. So on to my next point, and I kind of said it when I said I want you to stop thinking about marketers. And my view as well is that social media managers, heads of social media, vice presidents of social, whatever you want to call yourself, should stop thinking like a marketer. Because marketers aren't any good at marketing. Sorry, they're not. Humans know what they want to hear, and it's humans who are on your social media channels. So start thinking less like a marketer and more like your audience, more like human beings. Because hands up here, I'm testing myself now because I've had a few hands who said that they check favorite brands, right? So I'm going to test myself now with another question. Hands up here, who likes being sold to? Yes! My point wins this time round. Nobody likes being sold to. If you looked around there in the room, you'd see that nobody enjoys being sold to. We hate it as human beings, yet we sell to human beings all the time, and we do it on social. And it doesn't always work. Sometimes it works if you can do it in a clever way, but generally, that was our approach at Mærsk. We wanted to try and take that sales step back, stop thinking like marketers, and start thinking about human beings. And you've heard it from other people as well today in regards to being more human in your approach to get that engagement. Another little test for you. I really like engagement. It really makes me feel like I'm not so alone up here. So a little test when we kind of do a lot of testing at Mærsk and try and work out if we can prove our point, and that it's not just me standing up on a stage or standing up in a boardroom kind of giving my own opinions. And who thinks that which of these, the screen's gone a bit weird, but who of these thinks that the left one is more engaging than the right one? A few think the left is more engaging. The right one more engaging? There we go, most people. I'm so glad you got that right. But these are two posts that we did when we did a lot of A/B testing. We looked at how we could have the same message, but with different content, different copy, different ways of I'm not sure if I hope that's big enough that you can kind of read it as well. But same message, same point, we're still selling in a way, but with a slightly different approach. And of course, you're absolutely right in terms of how you said that there, is that the right-hand side is a lot more engaging. We want to be told the information on the right. It's a better picture maybe, the copy's more interesting, it's adding value. And that's what we try and do at Mærsk all the time. With all of our copy, even if it's a sales message or a campaign message, we try and make sure that we add value to the community that we're talking to. And there's one quote that kind of sums this up when I'm trying to prove my point to boardrooms, when I'm trying to prove my point to people that I'm talking to. And that's simply that, look at the numbers. Because this says it all, right? Jay-Z, he knows what he's talking about, generally. Maybe not all the time. But this quote, I think, does sum up what I want to say, is the fact that it's the numbers that are not going to lie. When you look at the results, when you do that A/B testing, and I recommend you all do that as much as you can if you've got your sales messages going out, test it, and the numbers won't lie. And then you've got something very tangible to go to whoever it is, your stakeholders, and say why you're doing it in a slightly different way. So onto my third and possibly final, although I may have a bonus point at the end. But onto my third and final point, and that goes back to that point of community and about that conversation element that I was referring to at the beginning. If you can get other people to sell for you as advocates off their own back, I'm not necessarily talking about influencer marketing here because I'm not a huge fan of influencer marketing. But if you can get people to talk about your brand, talk about your company, talk about what you are doing all the time off their own back, even if it is small numbers, if you had, I don't know how many followers individual people here have on their social media accounts, but if every single one of you started talking about one particular brand, you might only have 100 followers on Twitter. You might only have 50 on Instagram or whatever it may be. But clubbed together, and then suddenly you've got generally 450 advocates of your brand. And when I first arrived at Mærsk, and I have to admit, I was probably going to be one of the people putting their hands up saying that I had never heard of Mærsk when I started at Mærsk. I generally didn't know, other than what I'd done for the interview process, right? I knew them when I started applying. But before that, didn't really know what, I might have recognized the logo, but didn't really know what they did. But there are fans of Mærsk out there. Here are some examples of people who don't work at Mærsk, but are sharing our content. And it amazed me when I first started at Mærsk that there were people who were taking pictures of our ships, taking pictures of models that they had created out of Lego. They were taking pictures of just a view of a ship on a horizon and sharing it and tagging us on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook. And when we started thinking about how we were going to get this advocacy, how we were going to start building this engagement through advocates generally, both employees and non-employees and fans out there of Mærsk, this was where we went to for our content. This is where is now the pillar of our content strategy on Instagram and Facebook, which is using other people's content, using other people to share the message about Mærsk or share the brand about Mærsk. So these are fans, a few engagements here and there, if you can see those numbers. And then we have super fans. And if anybody is following hashtag Mærsk on social media, you'd have seen this guy pop up. This guy's Thor. I'm not sure how you say it in Danish, but this one's a guy who is spent the last 5 years traveling all over the world to try and aim to go to every single country in the world without flying. That's his aim. He's doing quite well so far. He's up to 178, 179 countries now. But the incredible thing is everywhere he goes, every time he sees Mærsk, a Mærsk container, a Mærsk logo, a Mærsk office, he tweets about us. He loves us. Absolutely fucking loves us. And it's great. It's really, really great that we're getting that kind of advocacy. And he's never worked for Mærsk. You see comments on his feed saying, oh, you work for Mærsk. When did you work for Mærsk? When were you a captain at Mærsk? Never. He's just a Dane who's probably one of the half a dozen people that put their hands up at the beginning. They love Mærsk. He is a Mærsk super fan, if you will. And we get him into the offices around the world as well whilst he's traveling. So generally, my point about that is that UGC does work, and it works as a way of creating that advocacy without paying for it. You will have fans. I bet that any of the brands that are represented here in this room will have fans. You just got to make sure that you can tap into it in the right way. So I kind of trailered that there might be a bonus point, which of course I do have. So here is your bonus point. I said there was 3, and then I thought I'd sneak in another one because you seem to be so engaging. So thank you for that. And it goes back to that community and conversation point that I was making. And there's one quote that I really enjoy living by, because it's what drives me to kind of continually engage and listen to everything that is going on in social, and then work out how the best way of responding and engaging with the people who are talking about us on social. And that's this. Your brand no longer is a logo or a name. It's what people are saying about you when you're not in the room. And it's so true this day and age. We heard a little bit about brand protection. We heard a bit about community today, and lots of those other kind of things. But that quote sums it up, because it is that. And the only way that you're going to be able to respond to that, the only way that you're going to be able to craft messages according to that, is to be in the room as often as possible. I hope that that has given you some kind of insight as to how we do things at Mærsk. It was a very brief introduction. Do connect me on social media, of course, or send me an email if you'd like to know any kind of more. But thank you.